My brand game dramatically changed earlier this week. I did a brand strategy session with Maria Platusic, who is, pretty well known on LinkedIn for branding approaches, and she's joined our group as a founding member, and she is right here. I'm going to bring her. I'm going to bring her up live, and there she is. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did together and what's coming, and a little bit about branding to put this in context. And I've been in the branding industry in one way or another my whole life, and I've never done branding myself, although I ended up figuring out how to do it for different companies that I've had because I know it's important. Um, so I won't get into my whole resume, but I've paid a lot of outsiders at certain points and got nothing out of it. And that all really changed last week, where the visual branding and the brand presence is one thing, but there's something else that's almost mysterious and hard to completely describe for me that we did in our brand strategy session. So I think, Maria, let's just go back and forth on this and talk about it. But I think, do you want to just explain kind of the brand strategy session and then maybe what you saw as we were talking?
Sure. So thanks for having me. When it comes to your brand strategy, I feel like there's many different definitions for it, and we see it as multiple things, and everybody has their own version of what they think it is. But in my brain and how I process it and how I know that my clients can utilize it for their advantage, it's just a series of extracting the most important parts of your genius. And you have all the knowledge, you have all the skill set, you have all the talent. I'm not going to sit here and say I know your business better than you. But I find that like 99% of the time when we're in the thick of it, this is how we're seeing things, right? So when someone with this experience of brand strategy comes in, they're able to just ask you a series of questions. And it's kind of like my sleuth coming through. It's like, I want to get to the reason why you decided this. I want to get to understand why you're choosing this, and just making sure that what I'm asking is giving me a little bit more information than the previous question, and just wording it in a way that I can extract more and more and I can understand it. Because at the end of the day, when you're hiring me, I need to essentially sell what it is that you offer in this most amazing way. If I can't understand what it is that you're selling or offering, then we need to break it down even further. It's basically simplifying your genius, even though you don't want to, and it's a struggle. It's basically simplifying it, essentially.
So in this 30-minute weekly brand clarity session, that's what's possible. And I think let's debunk a few myths. So about definitions. So one of the best ways I think I was thinking about to explain this clearly with an analogy is the difference between self-promotion as a popular celebrity to become popular and distilling your essence down into an organizing system to communicate who you are, to connect into the marketplace. And one of the easiest ways I think to describe it right now is what's going on with this guy, Sean Combs, Diddy, P. Diddy, or whatever, who's considered to be a branding expert. And I look at this and I'm like, I don't see any brand there at all. What I see is someone who has found a way to become popular and self-promote himself. And that's it.
I think what you want to pay attention though to is if it's positive or negative, especially as a small to mid-sized business owner. And the popularity contest what happens is if you are popular and people enjoy what you're saying, then you get all the snaps, all the claps. But when they don't enjoy what you're saying, they shoot you down instantly. So that's why you don't want to base it on popularity necessarily, but base it on values and integral pieces that hold true to you that won't change over time. And that's where I battle with the influencers and all those high level people.
Yeah.
It's a matter of, can we make this true to you and not get lost in the likes and the glory and the fame and all of those things?
can we make this true to you is hard for someone where they don't know what's true for them. And the more money now approach, which is kind of a paradox and a parody of chasing money and chasing fame and chasing influence that I've got, integrates really well with what you're doing because it starts with product. So, and you build the product or create the product inside the market with the market, not because what you think will be popular. It's who you are brought into the market and adapted in terms of how it's presented so people understand what you're talking about.
I feel a lot of parallels there because I'm a firm believer of as long as you have a viable product or service that provides results to people and it's true and proven, there is an audience out there for you willing to pay whatever it is that you're wanting to charge. It's a matter of aligning the beliefs and your values with those of the audience out there you're trying to reach. And it is possible. Absolutely.
And it's the opposite of what people are doing right now. And that's why I really want to emphasize the opposite of this, because it is actually the opposite of what is popular right now. And there's someone who recently blew up on LinkedIn, is the latest, celebrity who is now teaching others how to do what she did to blow up on LinkedIn. And I'm like, where's the product? If the product is just how to become popular, to me, there isn't a product because it's just a phase. So when the market shifts, it collapses. So it's similar to like the real estate market where everyone is becoming a mortgage broker because there's a flood of people into a bubble of real estate. Now we're seeing this with the influencer economy, and people are confusing brand with popularity.
It's funny, but like you have to realize I have had clients who are earning multiple six figures, seven figures that don't have a social media account and they didn't even have a website. They didn't have any online presence, and they're killing it at what they do. And they have prospects wanting to buy their business. So that being said, it doesn't have to be a popularity contest. You just have to be really freaking good at what you do. And people have to, trust and believe in the product or service you're offering. And now it's beautiful because I'm like, ooh, let's get this person some presence in the real world and see how we can really take it off. Right. So,
Yeah.
I agree with it. It has to hold water for many years. That's the only reason I will get into anybody's brand is we're building better brands to last. That's the whole point.
And what happens is that when you start with the complex intertwining factors of experience, interest, passion, values, beliefs, all this you've got, and integrate all that into a company, and then maybe even go deeper where you're building, like I am, the product with a lot of partners, so it lasts, the results last. So you're giving people an extra value from doing that. When you're starting with what's real, and then you go out into the market and not figure out from market research what people will buy, but more how to connect the storylines and the organizational structure and the delivery systems and like all that, so it's usable. Then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how you do it. You could do it on social media if you like it. I like it. I'm all over all these different platforms because I want to create original content. I'm not pumping it out through ChatGPT to fit some kind of can I put as much crap out in the market as possible to get more leads? Like, I'm not doing that ever. So I think it's almost like how often do we have to describe real cells in a society that often a lot of people, I don't think, believe that anymore.
It's tough because I think as entrepreneurs and small business owners, like we're really tired and confused. I think we've been sold everything and anything under the sun. And, the gurus are showing their, $1 million formula to make $1 million. And as long as you follow these steps exactly and give away your soul, you can do it too. and in the end, is that what you really wanted? Right? Like, I think we fail to stop and ask, what do you want? What do you want to do? What are your big picture goals individually? And listening, I think we fail to listen because we're so hard to push our agenda, our process, our program,
Yeah.
that we stop and fail to listen and hear what it is that they want, and then craft something and create something that's curated just for them, right? I think that's something that's missing and leaving a lot of people confused. We're like, okay, if I follow these exact steps, I can do it too. Well, and then you create this thing that you don't even enjoy. You might even hate it, right? That's another alternative that happens too.
Happened to me. And my life, I look at it and I think a lot with market authority, which is one of the rooms I'm running weekly, is what's my movie that I'm making? And I thought I was making an art film, with some, elite kind of stuff in it. And I realized, no, I'm making an action adventure movie for the masses with a lot of car chases. And that's a really different way of looking at it. And what happened with me was I did build the 7-figure business virtually before the pandemic, and it's passive income for 4 years now. I haven't worked in it in 4 years. And when I was in my 20s, I took a family business and turned it into a professional distribution company instead of a mom and pop, and created a lifestyle business around it before Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. I did that. And when I got on social media in 2020, I felt like a beginner. And I'm taking all these programs and I spent 150 grand on them. And I'm like, wait a minute. It took me 2.5 years to realize I already did this. I just didn't do it on social media.
That's the sad truth. And essentially those are the people like I want to help, is those that are like looking at others who have 1/4 of their talent.
Yes.
And they're killing it.
Because they're
Like they have
popular.
a fraction of their talent and they're killing it. You're sitting there scratching your head and like, how is this possible? So that's where I'm like, nope, I want to take the people with all the talent who are sitting there struggling and saying, how are they able to do it? And let's give them the help. Let's support them. Let's let them kill it too when it comes to branding and marketing.
Belief systems are interesting because, and you said something important, which is always true. And everything that's not that is a fad. In other words, it's not going to last. And I'm seeing this now with like somebody like a Jay Shetty. And we're seeing this all over social media where these people are going to collapse. And there's a reason. And there's because of principle. There's a principle underneath this, which is the idea of separation in a market means it's going to collapse. So if you have a popular figure with followers and fans, there's going to be a moment where those fans are going to say, what about me? I don't want to copy you anymore. And whatever that thing is, those trolls, they turn into trolls. There's a reason for this. They're turning into trolls because they're like, this isn't working. They're like, copying you, Mr. Celebrity, is not making me happy.
You get bitter and resentful because you've tried all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're sitting here wondering why am I not at that level? Why am I not, in this high regard? And then I'm just here to say, you don't necessarily need to be at that level. You can still be successful and find your people without the thousands and hundreds of thousands of fans following you. You just need a good select few who got your back and believe what you have to offer is true, and come on board with you. And that's essentially the model that I've built my business. I didn't want to create 20 brands in a day, or in a month or in a week or whatever. I want to create like 10 amazing brands a year. That's how I've set my model. And because I'm an all-in, and then that's something you need to pay attention to, is your personality and your bandwidth and your energy, because I'm an all-in personality. I can't just do the thing, one tiny part of it. I have to do all of it. And that's something that I've learned about myself, is what I had tier pricing before, and the person on the base tier got everything because I didn't know how to, gatekeep my intellectual property. You're going to get it all. So knowing your personality and how you function, and knowing who's a good fit for you, like on the other end, who the clients should be that don't drain you, that's important as well, because you want to build something that's sustainable and that lasts.
I think that this idea of go your own way, find your own pathway becomes so critical. Because for me, I see a $30 million company at an 85% net profit margin with what I'm doing right now in 3 years. And I see it as a platform extensible where I'm not doing all the work, where I'm doing what I want to do in it and where my contribution is to it. So it's not my company to extract money from the market. It's a platform to expand into the market. So I am thinking big, and I run into entrepreneur types where they're like, that's their one, they'll run into the burning buildings one after another and they'll do whatever it takes. And I've always been like that. But then I run into other type where they're coaches who they've built, like Brian Mukin, our group who runs the Invincibility Dojo every day, Gail Kraft, who runs Next Level Living. They want to bring their gift into the world. Their motivation's different. And then I see service providers, and I think you're maybe in that category. I don't know, because this is all overlaps. Of course, these are just frameworks of thinking. And the service providers, I think, are great at what they do and just want to do a good job with people who let them do the work, help them do the work, and actually get a real result, as opposed to, again, abdicating responsibility by becoming a follower.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true that, like, as a service provider, my whole heart is to serve, is to give, is to, like, I become your partner on the journey, right? So if
Yeah.
you're not succeeding, I'm failing. And that's how personalized I take it. And my outcome is to create an impact for many. So the people I work with, they're working with many people, and that helps many. So that's how I put my part in there. Each person is unique. And then it's amazing how you can bring all these different perspectives together and deliver what they need in that essence and in that moment.
So there's two things we're talking about doing together. One is the weekly brand strategy session, and that's a room that Maria's going to run on the campus weekly. But there's another thing we're working on, which is an 8-week kind of pathway. But I've never seen people succeed at anything in 8 weeks. So it's a 12-month opportunity. And we've kind of set this up when we talk to people around telling them what'll happen in 8 weeks or even in a day is you'll feel better. So we see this all the time. I feel better. That was great. She was great. Oh my God, I got so much out of it. Working with me too, us together, they're like, wow, this was exciting. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, they're back to where they were. So the idea of 12 months is what leads to lasting change. And what I find is it's an ability to release fear. It's an ability to step into uncomfortability. And it's an ability to directly confront the hardest thing that's right in front of you. So this idea we're going to run, looking at calling it Become a Personal Brand and Scale Your Business with Better Branding, is going to require at some point for somebody who goes through these things to make some shifts. And then they get a permanent result. So they've created something in the world that matters. Now they've been leaned into their uncomfortability. They figured out the branding part, but then they're extending that out into the market now. That's uncomfortable. So they've got to figure out how to do that on their own terms without just following, oh my God, I got to be popular on social media. Maybe you want to be. Then, well, we got to do that. So these things build over time.
It definitely does take time. A brand doesn't happen overnight. That's one thing that I highlight to my clients too, is what we put in now has to be consistent for quite some time for it to pick up the traction and then keep going. And that's the hardest part with marketing, is the waiting, is the waiting, but let me change it again. Let me tweak it. Let me edit it. Let me fix it, and just give it the allocated time. Just be consistent and share, and then it actually starts to trigger and happen and come to life. And that's the hardest part. But being consistent is also hard. Being motivated to be consistent is hard. And then having support through that could definitely be beneficial.
So I wrote a book back in 2019 about my experience with my lead generation sales outsourcing company. And the whole proposition of this was, how do you create a revenue business as opposed to a business with sales, prospecting, and marketing being in 3 separate departments. And that's what we were focused on creating with that company, because I saw the importance of that and the integration of being in the market actively in a way you love doing and building the infrastructure for the brand works together. And I think this is what often happens to people in the branding industry. And I saw this I was selling branding, top level brand marketers, the people who did like the Kashi brand, Mini Cooper launched in the United States. I was working with people like that, and their frustration was all the same. And it was like, these companies are quarterly earnings based. And a lot of the B2B companies want to invest in the sales organization and lead generation. They don't want to build the brand. And what we're seeing is, with the integrated product that we're building, you don't have to choose. And you do it together, and the brand will make more sense because you won't be making it up. It'll be in the market. You'll be doing it in the market as you're talking to people.
It's important to realize that your brand is not just one thing. Like, I've done this, check, done, finished for life. It is like all the gears and cogs that kind of need to work together in unison. If one of these things is off, nothing can turn.
Yeah.
So you have to do it together.
I want to talk about the organizing structure that we did. And it was amazing to me how we did this in like 10 minutes, because I've been working on this for 2.5 years, if not 3.5 years. And I'm going to talk about my journey through brand. It was Sales Sherpa in 2020. Then it was Revenue Climber. Then it became Solopreneur Inc. And then it became Red Pill Pathway. And then I added the Entrepreneur Experience because I thought it's really brought to you by Red Pill Pathway. So Entrepreneur Experience is the platform. Red Pill Pathway is my vehicle. But that doesn't mean everyone's going to take the Red Pill Pathway, because it's really hard. It's for entrepreneurs. It's not for everybody. But Entrepreneur Experience platform is. So I couldn't figure out. People ask me, what do you do? What do you do? And I'm like, I'm not even going to tell you anymore. Because I don't use elevator messages anymore, but it has to get organized somehow. So what we did is, and we can talk about how you did this, but I created 4 buckets after we talked, or while we talked, actually: vision, clarity, confidence, and certainty. So it's like, what will the website look like when we finish it? There'll be vision, clarity, confidence, and certainty. And within each one of those quadrants, there will be stuff from the brand. In other words, the product. So vision, more money now, market authority planning, Red Pill Pathway 8 weeks, market leadership 8 weeks, vision accelerated protocols, clarity, vision clarity session, brand clarity session, which is what you do, communication clarity session, vision realize session, and office hours. And then confidence, invincibility, dojo, next level living, summit club, family matters first, in the action library. And I won't go into certainty, that's the group and stuff. But what's important there is that it's impossible to organize this stuff for me. I can't do it. This is why having collaborative partnerships is so important.
It was, for me, it's always the challenge of, it's like, I need to understand what it is that you can offer. And then if I need to share it with someone, how am I going to sell it for you if I don't have it divided in buckets and categories and things nice and neat and tidy to sell it? And I know that's the hardest thing for entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, to do, because we don't fit in a box. We don't fit in a bucket.
That's
We're
the problem.
multi-passionate. We can do anything and everything. And every single one of my clients falls into that category. And then here comes me, where it's like, okay, we're not putting you in a box. We're creating this space and organizing it, not for you, for your audience, because you live it, you're in it, you understand it, you get it. You need to be able to make others understand it and get it. So let's simplify, quadrant, divide, put the subcategories underneath. And it's extracting what it is and simplifying. That's all it really is.
The branding industry loves complex discussions around brand. And when I listen to branding people, they love going into the cerebral intangibles that only other branding people or thinkers like that, agency kind of people can really understand. And one of the clients I had way back, he did the work for Kashi. So he created brand platform for Kashi, and he did exactly what you said. And people, when they understand it's an organizing structure to communicate without saying anything, because it happens automatically. You don't need an elevator message anymore in B2B. And that's the key. Is a lot of people are teaching the elevator message approach. And I'm like, that doesn't work for entrepreneurs. It doesn't work because no one knows what it is. So when you have a Kashi brand, they created an infrastructure where they can sell anything because it fits the brand. Whereas you look at some of the other brands and they're stuck, they're cereal and they're trying to do bars and nobody is like, oh, that's a cereal. You can't do it. And I know that's kind of hard to explain, but that's what you did for me. And now when we put it out there, people can find their own way through it because the story's there. So the idea of the brand story is you enter the brand story however you enter it. So how am I supposed to know what to say to you? I don't know what you need.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing too. When we create these categories or these subcategories within it, it's for me, it's my brain immediate. Like I'm half creative, half strategic, and we fight a lot. We do. We fight a lot, but it's always coming back. My creative brain's like, simmer down, strategy. I need you to not talk right now so I can be creative. And then the opposite happens when I need strategic, like logical thinking. It's creating wireframes all the time. Like that's how my brain works. It's creating wireframes. How can we simplify this and flow people through your ecosystem?
Yes.
So if I'm showing up and I want clarity, but oh, hey, cool, they have this session right now for confidence, or they have this session going on. I might show up because this is what I think I need, but I actually needed this and I didn't even know until I got here. So the whole point is creating a way to get them in the door.
Yeah.
Once they're in the door, they get to decide. But if you can't get them in the door, then that's where you're stuck.
And this is the opposite again of where I'd say 96% of the market is right now and what's being taught. So instead of the idea of, oh, let's open the door so you can come in easily, it's how do I figure out how to grab a hook and pull you into the door forcefully and make sure you stay and then shove you into a room. And then someone shows up with a Stripe account and says, bye.
It needs to be so compelling that it's a no-brainer for them to want to check it out and see what it's all about. It needs to be inviting and compelling for them to be like, yep, this is exactly where I need to be to figure this out, because everything else has not worked until this point. If you don't have that compelling way of pulling them in, it's going to be a very difficult ride for you.
And I see top marketers say that. And then I ask them the question, why do you use persuasion psychology then? If you already are compelling, why do you need to gamify it and persuade people to do what you want?
Because when people are reading content or searching for something more, it has to relate to them. And this is where your values, and people are like, oh, don't share your personal brand. Don't share who you are. Don't share, like, I don't care that you have a dog. Why are you sharing that part? But if you say something really compelling about the fact of your dog and someone else loves animals and feels that story, you're pulling them in with emotion. And emotion is where the transactions actually can happen. But the true long-term emotions of connecting with someone on the value level, that's the space that you want to enter. And it's not about coaxing or convincing or changing opinion. It's, I actually resonate with this and I want to learn more, because you're making the decision. You're filtering it through and saying, this is important. I want to pay attention to this.
So we've got one more minute, and what I'd put out here is if anybody is interested in what we're talking about, go to redpillpathway.com/events and realize this isn't finished. So it's going to look confusing because we just got these buckets, and now I've got somebody else, Lona Fink, who's one of our other founding partners, who's going to be running the communications clarity session, she's getting this communication into clarity on our website now that we have a brand clarity session finished. So it'll make more sense. Don't judge me yet. So you got anything to finalize? And I'm going to stay on for another few minutes on my own and sort of summarize for everybody what we talked about.
For sure. For me, it's just a matter of, do I feel aligned? And I feel aligned in regards to the values, into entrepreneurs, into the struggle. I know entrepreneurs are tired. They're tired of following the gurus. They're tired of being paralyzed in inaction because there's so many people telling you should do this and you shouldn't do that. And then you're sitting there, well, which one should I be doing? Right. And again, it's asking them, what do you want to do? And how can we sustainably get you there? And does it feel aligned? And someone needs to listen on the other end. I think that's the key, is the listening.
Listening too. Yep. Thank you, Maria, for everything. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Larry. Cheers.
I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing and what we're talking about here, so you understand this. And the opportunity to be able to get the brand organized is a start. And that's why we're doing the weekly brand clarity session, because it's an active working session. So anybody can come into the room and say, hey, here's my mess. And this is what I did with Maria. I dumped a mess on her. And it was very confusing. And I know I don't want an elevator message. I already knew that. But I also knew I needed to be less confusing. And I got there with her. And then we can put it now into action with another room on campus with Lona Fink and what she's doing with the communication clarity session. However, I've been on this for years. I've been doing this kind of thing since I was 21 years old. And I've really, really been deep in myself over the last year, figuring out entrepreneur experience and Red Pill Pathway. So I'm an easy nut to crack because I was ready to crack. So for some of you, it won't be quite this simple. You may have not spent as much time as I have thinking about yourself, your market, and exploring it and becoming an expert in it and creating something new within it. And you may not be as far along in your product, although you have a successful product. It's maybe not serving you the way you want it to serve you or your business infrastructure. So we pulled all that together. And in 8 weeks, what we're going to work on together, where Maria and I are going to co-teach this. I don't even like to use the word teach because it's going to be a group project without a guru telling other people to be like us. Because you're not going to do what I did. You're not going to do what she did. And those two things are very different. What she wants and what I want and what we're doing, it's totally different. And it's the same with you. So we're respecting that. So I'm going to explain how this become a personal brand and scale your business with better branding 8-week workshop is about. The first thing to understand is it's 12 months. So you come for 8 weeks, but you have access for 12 months to everything. Why? Because of confidence and certainty. I'm going to explain this right now. Vision and clarity. So vision, knowing how to make money, where you want to make it, having market authority, planning, working. Red Pill Pathway 8 weeks is, thought, action, and impact in the market, doing that. Vision acceleration or market leadership 8 weeks for people who want to go in different, kind of be real authorities in the market. That's an 8-week kind of thing. Vision acceleration protocols. That's to go forward faster and with less parking brake being pulled up. So that's vision stuff. It's just a start. Clarity, vision clarity session, brand clarity session, communication clarity session, vision realize session is what I do. Kind of focusing on, and Sharon Valenti does some stuff on this too in her room, on realizing that vision and putting the things in place so you realize that vision. And then office hours to get unstuck. Now, what I know from watching the coaching industry and the service provider industry the last few years is vision and clarity leads to feeling better sometimes and doing the same thing. So people feel they're doing something different, but they're getting the same result. Why? because you need confidence and certainty. People don't buy confidence and certainty as easily, but it's what works. The integration of vision and clarity with confidence and certainty is what permanently works. Why is this so important? So many of us are tired of changing constantly. We are changing our businesses all the time for no reason. The constant change that will not stop of technology, of financial shifts, of economic shifts, of market shifts, of trends is not going to stop. I've been on an action adventure movie ride with a lot of car crashes, a lot of success in the face of change. Looking for the next wave to ride before the last wave that I'm on collapses into the shore and drowns me. I'm tired of that. And in 2020, that was my experiment, was how do I get a permanent infrastructure for a business that can withstand earthquakes? It flexes with an earthquake, like an apartment building in Miami, as opposed to one that gets knocked over because it hasn't been retrofitted for earthquake environments. Well, it's Miami's not earthquakes, hurricanes, whatever, hurricanes, earthquake, whatever it is. It's coming. So create for it now. How? That's why these programs I'm doing are 12 months, but they're 8-week commitments, but 12 months access, because a lot of people quit. They get it right. They feel better. Nothing changes. A year later, they're doing another pivot. You don't have to live like that anymore as an entrepreneur, coach, or a service provider. I don't want to live that way anymore. So confidence and certainty integrates with vision and clarity. It's not enough to have vision and clarity. So the personal brand is the beginning. So here's what happens in this 8 weeks. Become a personal brand and scale your business with better branding. Know in your heart the truth marketers fear. The best product wins. That's a nightmare for the marketing industry. Not for the marketing approaches that we're taking, but for the marketing industry as a whole. They don't want that. What happens in the 8 weeks? You get ready for big visibility, whatever that means to you. It could be almost nobody knows you and you don't care because you're doing great. Or it means, yeah, I want to be on bigger stages now. For what? Your best in class offering. How do you create a best in class offering? You integrate what you know, or you've already got it. What are the 5 stages? 1, move from high quality, best kept secret to become visible fast. How do you become visible fast? 2 things work together. So bullet 2, create structures for your product, brand, and company that scales based on you, anchored in the blueprint. That's my part. So we're working together on this. There's things I do, there's things Maria does. Dive deeper, create structures. Yes. Dive deeper into your market using the product market fit method. That's our daily More Money Now session. And I'm going to really bring that into the 8-week program we're doing together, Maria and I, because if you dive deeper into your market, you can flex with your market when things change because your product is the market. You're in the market. The product is the market. If the market changes, you don't have to change anything because you already are with the change. You're not pivoting, you're adjusting and recalibrating. And that happens in real time anyways. And it's fun because you're doing it together. So we work on that. Plan your market authority, the secret to selling a superior product. So I'm going to bring into the room, one of my weekly sessions is the market authority planning session. And part of market authority is figuring out the where, figuring out the why, and figuring out what are you going to say in a storyline, not a story brand to get people to buy, but telling the truth in a way that's understandable. Plan your market authority will be part of this. And then finally, design your partnerships and content authority structures. You don't have to do this alone anymore. We'll do it behind the scenes, but not in a pod. That's what they do on social media to become popular. So these top celebrities on social media, they say they're not in a pod, but they are because they're using each other's influence to get more influence together as an elite group on social media. And that's how this works. We're going to do something similar, but it won't be gamed. Like they're not gaming it either. They like each other. They're helping each other out. We're going to do the same thing. Design your partnerships, content, authority structures. So what I'm saying here, I'm kind of reading from this document we're putting up on a website soon is, and I'm almost out of time, is rather than work on your business operations, hire expensive people, or waste time on lead generation marketing, scale your business and brand old school. Maria and I are old school because we're doing things that always work. Instead of being a best kept secret, not being seen, and holding back your potential, free up time by finding an ideal pathway to scale your business. So this is going to be up soon. If you're interested, go to any of my sites, redpillpathway.com/content or redpillpathway.com/events, and scroll down to the bottom. You can schedule a time with me. It says schedule a time with Larry, or claim a guest pass and come into one of the events. And